to Denver Parks and Recreation at Home. My name is Jessica Garamoni, and this is Lego Play from Adaptive Recreation. There are 3 videos in this series. The first video is for beginner builders, second video is for intermediate builders, and the third video is for advanced builders. Today's video is going to be for beginner builders, so if you're new to Lego or if you just need some simplified instructions or simplified builds, this video is for you. And today we are going to be building a couple of things. We will be building tomatoes, carrots, apples, penguins, and trains. So throughout this video, I'm going to be showing you what pieces you need. As I show those, feel free to pause the video so you have time to collect your pieces. And if any point in the video you need to pause to be able to kind of catch up, or if you need to rewind and be able to see the instructions again, feel free to do so. Our finished build of the day is going to be the Lego garden. For those builds, these are the pieces that you're going to need. Feel free to collect those pieces. If you need more time, pause your video so you can collect them all. Alright guys, so for our vegetable garden, which is these guys here, we're going to be building 3 different things. The first one we're building today is a little tomato. And through these builds, what we're doing is we're learning the basics of Legos. So for this guy, the first brick we need is what is called a brick, which is your basic Lego shape. And it's a 2x2, and when we say 2x2, what that refers to is how many studs are on it. So this one has 2 studs by 2 studs, and if you're into math, if you multiply that, that equals 4, and we have a total of 4 studs on this brick. So that's how we can identify which bricks we need when we're building. So for our tomato, we want the 2x2 brick. We're going to set that down, and then we're going to add a little leaf. Now there's lots of varieties of leaves. If you don't have a leaf at home or you have one that's different, you can substitute whatever you have at home, even just another green brick would be fine. I'm going to use this little guy. He's like a little flower leaf, and I'm going to just stick him on top in the middle of all of those studs, and that is simply our tomato. So with our carrot, which is going to be our next guy, the same thing. We want a 2x2 orange brick. Now, we want a total of 4 of these. So when you go to find them, make sure you're counting and making sure they have the 2x2 or the 4 studs total. So I need 4 of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to stack those all on top of each other. So they're going to all go right on top. They're all the same brick, so they're going to fit into a nice little pile. And for my carrot, I used a grass piece. Now again, if you guys don't have these at home, feel free to use whatever you do have, but I'm also going to stick that just right in the middle of all of those studs. And that is my carrot. Now we're going to learn about some different kinds of Lego. We've learned about the brick, and our next guy is going to be an apple. So next we're going to need a 2x4 brick. Again, that is 2 studs by 4 studs for a total of 8 studs. And this is your usual brick that you would see when you were building. We're going to use one of those, and then we're going to use some new kinds of bricks that we're going to introduce you to. So this is a 2 stud brick. It's actually the same size as our 4 stud brick, but this one has a slope on it. And you can kind of see it slopes down. So it's not straight, and that is called a slope brick. So we're going to use 2 of those. Both of them are 2. They would be by 2, but again, the slope, that means they only have 2 studs on top, even though they fill a total of 4 studs. So those are slopes. We also are going to use what's called an inverted slope. So right now I've got them upside down, but if I were to flip them over, you can see that one goes down and one goes up. So this is called an inverted slope. It is also 2x2. It has the 4 studs on top though. So those are another kind of brick that when you are building you'll see in the books, and those are slopes and inverted slopes. So for our apple, that's what we're going to use. We're going to take our 2x4 brick and one of our inverted slopes, so the one that goes up, and we're going to flip it over and we're going to put that right on the bottom so that it's facing, our slope is now down even though we're upside down. Same thing, we're going to do that with the other one. So now we have kind of a roof-like scenario if we were thinking this was a house. Flip it back over, and we're going to take our other slopes, the ones that slope down, and we're going to add them right on top, making another roof-like structure. So now we have kind of a circle. I'm going to add another type of foliage. This is another type of leaf that Lego makes. Again, feel free to use whatever foliage or leaves you have. If you don't have any leaves, just a little green brick on top also works. And I'm going to just stick that off to finish off our apples. So with that, we have our tomatoes, our carrots, and our apples. And that is the introduction to your basic bricks. We're going to do a couple more builds today where you can learn some more brick types. Our next build is going to be a Lego penguin. For this build, here are the pieces that you need. Feel free to pause your video so you have time to collect all of your pieces. Alright, so now we're going to do our penguin, and we have a couple different kinds of pieces this time. So first piece that we're going to need is our 2x2. Again, that means there's 2 studs here, which equals a total of 4 studs. We want 2 of those in white. And we're going to stack those just right on top of each other. The next piece we need is a new piece. In the language that we've been using, it is a 2x4, which is the same as the one we were using before, where it has 2 studs on one side and 4 on the other, equaling 8 studs. But if you notice from the brick we were using earlier, this one is skinny. It is called a plate. So instead of a normal brick, it's skinny and called a plate. So if you have one of these, we're going to put it right on top, and we're leaving a little bit of an overhang there. If you do not have a plate, go ahead and use just your normal brick in the same number and still have that overhang. If you have the plate though, it's going to make it a lot better, and we're going to stick it right there. The next brick that we are going to use is a 1x2. This is a new brick we haven't learned yet. So same thing, it has 1 stud on one side and 2 studs across. So 1x2, total of 2 studs, and that is a normal brick. So we're going to need 2 of those to begin with, and we're going to take them and we're going to stick them right underneath that overhang. And those are the flippers of our penguin. So now we have kind of what looks like a T. The next piece that we're going to use is another one of those 1x2 black bricks, and we're just going to stick it right in back. So you have a little bit of space. Alright, the next one we're going to use, we've learned before, this was a slope. It is a 1x2 with studs on top. However, it covers an area of 4 studs. So if I was to put this on top of another brick that has 4 studs, it would match. And this one is a slope, meaning it slopes down. So we are going to put that one right next to the other one that we just did, and that leaves us a little bit of space. Now, for some reason, if you don't have these pieces, there is something you can do called substitution. Just like our plate, if we didn't have the plate, we used an actual brick. That's substitution. And the same thing here. If you don't have one of these slopes, maybe you have the smaller slopes, which is a 1x1 slope. If you add those together, it equals the same amount as your other slope. So if you need to substitute the 2 to equal the 1, you can. If you don't have any slopes, feel free to substitute in a 1x2 brick, and same thing, we're going to put it right there. You just won't have that beak. So depending on what you have at hand, go ahead and put on the beak of your bird. And then our final piece that we need is another plate. Remember, the plates are those that are skinny versus fat. This plate is a 2x2, meaning it has a total of 4 studs. And that is just going to go right on top to give our penguin his head, and our penguin is done. Our last build for this video is going to be a train. These are the pieces you need for the train. Feel free to pause your video, take your time, and collect all of your pieces. We are using everything we learned in the last 2 builds to build this train today. Alright, so now we are going to build our train, and I've put all of my pieces out, and you can kind of see how we have some little pieces all the way up to some really big pieces. So if you organize them, you'll be able to count and figure out what pieces we need next. So the very first piece that we're going to start off with is we're actually going to build our train upside down. I know that sounds kind of silly. Here's our train, and we're going to start at the very top. So the biggest piece we have, this one is a 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 by 8. It's going to be the biggest piece we have. So we're going to start with that guy. We're just going to kind of set them down. You can build this way if you want to. I'm going to build this way just so you guys can see. The next 2 bricks we want, these are going to be these guys. They are 2 by 4s. So in our line, find those ones that you can count that has 1, 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the ones we want. We have a total of 8 studs. We want 2 of those, and we're going to stack them together. And then we are going to add that to our piece, but we want an overhang of a total of 4 studs. So we're actually going to count 2 in, which equals 4. So 1, 2. We're going to keep that separate, and we're going to add our guys right there. So if I flip this over, you can see there's 1, 2. 2 spots cleared. And for this specific guy, there's 2 spots cleared on both sides. So our ones we just added are right in the middle. The next piece that we are going to add is a new piece for you guys. This is called a translucent brick, and what that means is you can see through it. Now these are not very common unless you have them in kits and stuff, so if you don't have these, that's okay. But these are 1 by 2s, which means they have a total of 2 studs. I have 2 of them, and I'm going to stack them up. Now again, if you don't have the translucents, you can use different Legos. You can substitute, these are just clear translucents. Or if you don't have any translucents, all I did was I substituted 2 whites. So you can choose what color you want to substitute if you don't have the translucent blues. I'm going to use the translucent blues today just so that I can match my one over here. So those translucent blues, once they are stacked up on top of each other, we are going to slide them in right next to those other ones. And that leaves us still a 1 stud space here. So we have our 2 we added, our 2 translucents, and then a space. The next bricks we need are 2 by 3s, so that's a new one as well. So they're a little smaller than the ones we just used because they're only 3 studs long. So these are 1, 2 by 1, 2, 3, total of 6 studs. We're going to take 2 of those, and we are going to add them. I am going to put this on, and I'm going to leave a little space so you can see that there's still 2 studs showing from there. So I didn't line them up. I moved them over, so I have 2 studs. Then I'm going to take my other one, and I'm going to put it right next to it. So we're even on this side, and we have 1 overhang on this side. The next brick we want is another big one. We want a 2 by 6, I believe. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, so 2 by 6, total of 12 studs. We're going to take that and we're going to add it, and we're going to actually come back in so we still have that little overhang and it's sticking out this time. And we're going to push it right there. So now we have an overhang on this side, which is good because now we're going to take that same brick, a 2 by 6, and we're going to take it on top and we're going to stick it to that overhang we just made. So we have something that looks like that. To finish this area off, we are going to use a 2 by 2. So a total of 4 studs. We're going to stick that right next to that other one. And we still got some space. This is a 2 by 3 space. So again, we need the 1, 2 by 1, 2, 3, total of 6. And we're going to stick that right there. So now we have what's starting to look like our train. All right, so the next brick that we are going to need is another 2 by 2 brick in blue. Again, 1, 2 by 1, 2. We're going to start over here now. We're just going to add that there. Now we're going to take the same brick, but we're going to do it in black this time. And we're going to put it right next to that one. The next brick we want is our last blue. That is the 2 by the 4, so a total of 8 studs. And we're going to put that one right next to that black one. Just like that. Our next brick is the 2 by 2 black. We're going to put it right next to that one. And then our last blue one, another 2 by 2. We're going to add to that one, and this one's going to overhang a little bit. And that's that layer. So we alternated. We did blue, black, blue, black, blue. And that is the start of our wheels down there. Oops. All right. The next bricks that we need are our 2 by 4. These are the black bricks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of them, and I'm going to put them so that they are right in the middle of those other black ones we added. So if I do that, it basically means I'm making kind of an upside down T. So there's a space on each side that's blue, and then the black one is in the middle. So I'm going to do that to this side as well. So again, they look like upside down T's. The next 2 bricks are my 2x2 bricks, and again, I'm going to flip those and I'm going to put them right in the middle. So instead of T's, now we have what looks like plus signs. So those are going to go right in the middle as well. There's a space on each side, and we have what looks like a plus. All right, the next 3 bricks we need is a 2x2 black, another 2x2 black, and a 2x2 white. And this is a plate. Again, it is smaller and thinner than the other ones. So even though they technically look the same with the same number of stubs and the same shape, this one is skinnier. So this is a plate. So we're going to take one of those blacks, we're going to add that plate, and we're going to put the other black on top. And this is our chimney. So we're going to take that and we're going to add it to the top of our build. And I left a space so that we could still see the edge of the train, and then I added my chimney. Our last piece is this little grate for the train. This is also a slope, but it's a bigger slope than what we've learned so far. This is a 1x4, but it fills a total of 8 spots. So it's the same as our other bricks, like this guy, the 2x4. It covers the same amount of space, but it doesn't have as many studs because it's got that slope on it. So we're going to take that guy and we're going to add him in the middle on the bottom there so that he's sticking out. This is the point where if you don't have one of these pieces, maybe you have 2 of the smaller ones, you can also sub. You can just stick one on one side and one on the other. And that way you have the same look even though you don't have the long piece. I'm going to take those off. I'm going to add mine back. And there is our train. All right, and those are all of our builds today. You should have a lovely array of different builds and some new basic LEGO techniques in your mind as well. Thanks for joining us. Again, this is LEGO Play with Adaptive Recreation.